The war had been raging for 3 standard years across the Epsilon sector, and neither the Human Colonial Defense Force nor the Kravik Empire showed signs of backing down. The forest moon of Talon 7 had become a graveyard of crashed ships and abandoned outposts, its purple canopy hiding the scars of countless skirmishes. Sergeant Marcus Chen moved through the undergrowth with practiced silence, his combat rifle ready, his faithful companion Shadow padding beside him. The Belgian Malinois had been with him since basic training on Earth, and together they'd survived situations that would have broken lesser teams. Shadow's ears were perpetually alert, his nose constantly working to detect threats long before Marcus's enhanced helmet sensors could pick them up. They were on a routine reconnaissance patrol, checking the perimeter of Forward Base Delta, when Shadow suddenly froze. His body went rigid, a low whine escaping his throat, not his usual alert for enemies, but something different, something uncertain. "What is it, boy?" Marcus whispered, dropping to one knee. Shadow looked back at him, then toward a dense thicket about 20 meters away. He whined again, pawing at the ground. Marcus activated his thermal scanner and his breath caught. There was a heat signature, faint and flickering, dying. His training screamed at him to call it in and wait for backup. But something in Shadow's behavior made him hesitate. The dog wasn't showing aggression. He was showing concern. Marcus crept forward, weapon raised, until he could see through the twisted branches. His stomach clenched. It was a Kravik. The alien lay crumpled against a fallen log, its 4 arms bent at unnatural angles. The chitinous plates that covered its body were cracked and oozing the purple-black fluid that served as its blood. One of its compound eyes was shattered, and its mandibles clicked weakly. A crashed escape pod smoldered 50 meters away, still burning with chemical fire. This was the enemy. The species that had ambushed human colony ships, that had killed Marcus's brother on Proxima Station, that had refused every peace offering for 3 long years. Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. Shadow barked once, sharp and commanding. He trotted forward and sat down next to the dying alien, looking back at Marcus with those impossibly intelligent eyes. The Kravik's good eye tracked the dog's movement, its body tensing with what might have been fear. "Shadow, back," Marcus ordered. The dog didn't move. Instead, he gently nuzzled the alien's shoulder, the one part that didn't look injured, and let out a soft whine. Marcus had seen Shadow do this before, once with a wounded deer caught in barbed wire, once with a child trapped under rubble during a civilian evacuation. The dog had an instinct for suffering, for creatures in need, that transcended any concept of friend or enemy. The Kravik made a sound, a clicking pattern Marcus's translator chip couldn't quite parse. But the tone was unmistakable. Pain, fear, maybe even surprise. Marcus lowered his rifle slightly. His hand trembled. Every military doctrine, every briefing, every memory of loss told him to end this. The Kravik had never shown mercy. Why should he? Shadow's tail wagged once, tentatively. Marcus closed his eyes and made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life, or maybe redeem him. He tapped his comm unit. "Base, this is Chen. I need an immediate medical evac at my coordinates. Priority urgent." Static crackled. "Say again, Chen. Evac for who?" "I have a critically wounded casualty, enemy combatant, non-ambulatory." The silence that followed was deafening. "Chen, are you compromised?" "Negative. I'm bringing them in." It took 4 hours for the medics to arrive, and in that time Marcus sat with the Kravik and his dog. He used his field kit to stabilize the alien's worst wounds, working carefully around the unfamiliar anatomy. Shadow stayed close, his presence somehow calming both human and alien. The Kravik watched him with its remaining eye. Once, it reached out with a trembling limb and touched Shadow's head. The dog's tail thumped against the ground. When the transport arrived, the medical team looked at Marcus like he'd lost his mind. Command demanded explanations. Intelligence officers wanted to know if this was a capture opportunity. But Marcus just watched as they loaded the Kravik onto a stretcher, Shadow trotting alongside. 3 weeks later, Marcus was summoned to the base commander's office. He expected a court-martial. He got something else entirely. Sergeant Chen, Commander Okoye said, her dark eyes unreadable. The Kravik you saved has woken up. Its name is Tikrath, apparently some kind of diplomatic courier whose ship was shot down by its own people for carrying unauthorized peace proposals. She slid a data pad across the desk. It's asking to speak with you, and your dog. The meeting room was sterile and white, with armed guards at every entrance. Tikrath sat across from Marcus, its wounds healing under medical nanites. Shadow lay between them, his head resting on his paws, watching both with calm attention. Why? Tikrath clicked, the translator rendering it as a raspy whisper. Your kind and mine. We kill each other. Why did you save me? Marcus looked down at Shadow. I guess because he reminded me that some things are bigger than war. Some instincts run deeper than hate. Tikrath's antennae quivered. In my culture, a life debt cannot be repaid with anything less than truth. The alien leaned forward. I was carrying proof. Proof that this war was started by factions on both sides who profit from conflict. Proof that our peoples both want peace. The room erupted in shouts, but Marcus barely heard them. He was looking at Shadow, who had somehow known. Known that this enemy was different. Known that mercy, not vengeance, was the path forward. 6 months later, the Treaty of Talon 7 was signed, ending the war. Both sides agreed to a joint investigation into the war's origins. Dozens of war profiteers were exposed and arrested. The galaxy, it turned out, was tired of fighting. At the signing ceremony, Tikrath stood beside Marcus and Shadow. When asked by reporters what had brought about this historic peace, the alien diplomat said something that would be quoted across 1,000 worlds. A human soldier and his dog taught me that compassion is not weakness. It is the strongest force in the universe. And it is the one thing that can end any war. Shadow, oblivious to his fame, simply wagged his tail and waited for someone to throw his ball. In the end, it wasn't generals or politicians who changed everything. It was a dog who saw an injured creature and refused to look away, and a soldier who had the courage to listen.